Thank you very much. I'm Gary Brooks. Hi, Shama. Hi, Oluwagdim. I think someone Oluwagdim got to give a thumbs up just now. Hi, Mujidat Lawal. Hi, Oluwatosi. Emmanuel. Okay, yes, Oluwagdim I got it. Hi, Emmanuel. Hi, Jude. Hi, Dugara Simon. Hi, Johanna. Trying to see as many people as possible that I can see on my screen. Call as many people as possible. Hi, Olayinka. Thank you for the thumbs up as well. Hi, Shama once again. Hi, Anna. Hi, Felicia. If I have not called your name yet, possibly I didn't see your thumbs up, so not too late to give a thumbs up yet. So, yes, I have your done. Thank you very much. So, good evening, everybody, once again, or good afternoon, depending on your time. So, my name is Mariam Adibite, and I'll be your host for today's session. I want to believe that majority of us already know why we are here. But if you don't, just give me some seconds to put up my screen. All right, if you can see my screen right now, just give me a thumbs up. All right, thank you very much, Feishayo. And others will just give a thumbs up. Thank you. So we are here to actually discuss what UK Health Tech hiring managers actually want to see in a data analyst portfolio, a live Power BI hybrid. Emphasis on the live Power BI hybrid. So this is not just any kind of session where we just say how theories without being hands-on. It's an opportunity for you to see the kind of projects hiring managers would like to see on your portfolio. So once again, my name is Mariam Adigbite, and I'm a data analyst, an experienced data analyst like that with close to 5 years of experience. And I have a background in pharmacy. I actually did study pharmacy in school before pivoting to tech a little bit. So you can see me as the person that has the proficiency in both and healthcare, having both the healthcare background and also knowing how to analyze data with the use of multiple tools, be it your Excel, be it your SQL, be it your R, be it your Python, your Power BI, your Tableau, and other data analysis tools, right? And make use of these tools to be able to analyze data, be able to solve problems majorly. It's not just about analysis, it's about being able to solve problems with the use of data. And I've been able to work across different sectors, including health tech, edutech, supply chain, and logistics as well. So like I mentioned earlier, I would be the one hosting today's session, doing the live Power BI build for you, right? So here we have about at Amdari. Amdari is an organization that is there to bridge the gap between theoretical learning and real world experience, right? So if I move on, do we have anybody on this call that's probably maybe watched one or two videos in terms of like data analysis or data science or whatever? You're not really new to tech. If you are that kind of person, just give me that thumbs up. Anybody at all, or if you haven't, you can give a thumbs down too. Good to know the category of people that we have on the call, as that's to set the pace of our session. All right, thank you very much, Feishayo. Just Feishayo as probably taken one or two courses in the past. Any other person? All right, Tosin as well. All right, I want to believe, all right, Bemiga as well. Great to see. So Amdari is there to help aspiring professionals like people on the call today, right? Just to be able to bridge that gap between what you have learned and how you can actually gain practical experiences that will help you land a job. And you've been able to like move across different spaces, different tech areas, data analysis, data science, data engineering, business analysis, SOC, threat intelligence, cloud and app security, GRC as well, right? So we are there to revolutionize the way people acquire industry knowledge and experience. And fun fact about us is that people who intern at Amdari, people who work in Amdari, they've been able to land a job within 4 months, right? 6 out of 10 interns that you see have been able to like land a job, while this number increases even beyond that program at Amdari. And of course, 5% of our interns also get to have like at least 2 interviews within the first 4 weeks of they being at Amdari. And 100% of people who actually land a job before have actually said that the work experience program, the internship that they got from Amdari, the reference that they got from Amdari was what helped them secured that job. So that's really sets us apart as we are qualified to be having this kind of session with you today, right? So what in addition, just like I've mentioned, this is Laura here. She got a job within the first month of our work experience program at Amdari. There are others like Katsu, Judith as well, and many other persons. So what are we actually here to discuss today? If you know what we are here to discuss already, can I get a thumbs up? If you already know. I think I've mentioned it already, but just to ensure that I still have people that are following me in this session is very much important. I would be requesting for thumbs up a whole lot, right? So in today's session, you would get to know the kind of project that should be in your portfolio, right? And then you would also get to build a healthcare report, Power BI reports in particular. We get to do it together on this call today. You also get access to the resources that would be used in building this Power BI report. And lastly, you would get this Amdari's special offer to you. So briefly to talk about getting access to the report, the resources that I'll be using for this particular live session, it would be shared with you if you do fill the attendance form. So at different points in time, you would see the attendance form being shared in the chat box. Please do ensure to fill it. You get access to the report itself, the data set, and also additional resources that I would think would be helpful for you in order to know how to learn how to use Power BI well, so that you get to like work on this project by yourself after today's program, after today's session. All right. So the projects we'll be making use of for today's session for the Power BI build would be one of the projects our interns at Amdari are also working on as well, right? So you get to see what happens inside of Amdari, right? And gives an opportunity for you to like put it inside your portfolio as well. So if you can see my screen, I'm currently sharing a different screen. If you can still see my screen, can I get a thumbs up? Okay, great. Thank you very much. So we're working on data-driven bed demand analytics for Horizon Health Network. This is a kind of project where we get to see different data sets to help us see, okay, what exactly how are the beds in a particular hospitals or different hospitals being used, hospitals under this Horizon Health Network. What is the demand for the beds in different wards across different specialty areas. We also get to see how we can better understand if this bed availability is equivalent to their staffing, right? I would also relate to the admission, but that is just an overhead summary. So just a quick overview. We have Horizon Health Network here, which is an organization that delivers high quality private elective and emergency care across the United Kingdom. So from just one specialty clinic at first, they've been able to like own more than 30 different hospitals, right? And like I mentioned, the major thing that we're here to understand for this project is the fact that we are not able to properly understand what their bed availability looks like. So for instance now, let's say somebody was brought to the emergency room. What is the possibility that this person getting to the emergency room would have access to a bed in the emergency department, right? Or what if somebody that needs to be admitted, would they still have opportunity to be admitted based on their bed availability, and not just bed availability alone, their staff as well? Do they have the resource? Do they have the capacity to be able to administer the set of people, right? So they have this persistent uncertainty in how bed is being available across different periods, right? Probably by daily basis, seasonal basis, the emergency inflow, different specialty pathways, right? So a whole lot of things gives them a kind of like a difficulty in understanding their bed availability, right? And then occupancy also, it varies across different wards, different specialties, different seasons. So it's very difficult for them to track. And because they're a network of hospitals, right? It's not just one hospital alone that we're dealing with in this instance. There are about 37 of them, right? So they need to be better able to like see how they can work towards having a much more efficient model, right? To ensure that patients who come to the hospital do not get to the hospital before they are turned back, or patients who want to be admitted do not wait until and do not have long waiting hours before they eventually get admitted. So that is what we would be dealing with in today's session. So we have 4 different data sets that we're working with. So if you're still with me, can I get a thumbs up? I would be sharing my entire screen now so that we can move at the same pace. All right, I'm currently sharing my entire screen. Can you see it? All right, great. So we have 4 different data sets that we're working with, which I've downloaded here. We have admissions table, we have bed inventory table, we have staffing, we also have wards. So before we move into like checking the data sets in Power BI, first of all, you as the analyst, you should, if it's kind of data set like this, for instance, that you can easily open up in Excel, you should first of all go through the data set so that you better understand what each column is about, what each column is trying to pass across. So that is what we'll be doing first of all. We'll be doing a check of the 4 different data sets in Excel first before we move ahead to download our Power BI. And if you do not have Power BI on your laptop right now, no issues. Of course, you wouldn't even be able to like follow along with the Power BI project creation right now, the dashboard report creation. So in that instance, it's best if you just fill the attendance form so that the resources that I'll be using for this session can be shared with you after the end of the career series. So here we have bed inventory. As you can see in this bed inventory, we have about 9 columns sort of. We have the date time, we have the ward, we have the bed type, we have the total beds, we have the staff bed, we have the occupied beds, we have the closed beds, the hospital which has been de-identified, and then a concatenated column, the hospital and the ward joined together to form hospital ward. So what might require maybe explanation right now is the bed type, the total beds, the staff beds, the occupied beds, and the closed beds, right? So that brings us to explaining this now would help you flow better with the analysis later on. So on our wards here, we have 5 different wards. We have the general medicine, we have the high density unit, we have the intensive care unit, we have the orthopedics and also surgery. And under the bed types, we have the general bed, we have the HDU and also the IDU as well. Then total beds means that what is the total number of beds that we have in this particular ward for this kind of bed type, right? And then the staff bed is talking about out of this number of beds that we have, how many of those beds have a staff that has been assigned to, like they have the capacity to, okay, if somebody has been admitted on that bed, somebody would be able to attend to the person, right? The staff is there to attend to the person. Then the occupied bed is out of the staff beds, not out of our total beds. This is the number of beds that has been occupied by a patient at this point in time. And then the closed bed also is talking about, okay, which of those beds is faulty or cannot be used at this point in time. Then the hospital and the hospital wards as well. So with this now, we have like a snapshot of data from different dates across 2 years, where that tells us this information. Then also for the staffing now tells us, okay, this is for the date, this is the ward, this is the staff role, the planned number of staff that should actually be in this ward for this role, and then the actual number of staff that you actually have at that point in time when this data was collected, and then the hospital name as well, and then the hospital ward, as we saw earlier. So a quick filter on this as well, you see that under the words, we have the general medicine, HDU, ICU, orthopedics, and surgery as well. Then under our staff role, we have consultant, healthcare assistant, nurse, registrar. So the plan staff is telling me that, okay, on this particular date, for this ward, for this staff role, we plan to have one person, one consultant, but actually on this date, we had zero. Then if the safe ratio was met, is that, okay, we have zero when one was planned. Of course, this is not a safe staffing period, right? So this is evaluating if we're actually meeting the number of planned staff that we have. So that is for that. Then also on the admissions table, please, are we still following? So I'm just trying to let you understand the data sets we'll be working with before we begin the real activity, right? So thank you for the thumbs up. Sorry, but I'm going to be muting you. All right. So on the admissions table as well, we have information on the patient ID. We have information on the admission ID, the admission date time, the discharge date time, the admission type, right? We have the admission source. We also have the specialty, the ward, the bed type, the length of hours, length of stay in hours, and discharge destination, the hospital and hospital ward as well. So under the admission type here, we see, okay, they could have elective admission, right, or emergency admission. Then the admission source, we have things like, it was a person was admitted from the hospital clinic, like an outpatient clinic. We also have the ED, right, from the emergency department. We have information where the person was referred from the general practitioner, and then we have a person that was probably transferred from a different hospital, a different clinic into their own hospital. Then also for the specialty, we also have like cardiology, medicine, neurology, orthopedics, and surgery as well. Then the ward, the bed type, which I already talked about earlier. Then the letter of stay for the person, then the discharge destination. If the person was moved to another hospital, the person was moved to a care home, the person unfortunately died, the person went home, or the person has to be rehabilitated, right? So we have all of this information in the admissions table. And lastly, in the words table, the words table is more like an extraction of the words that we have in the other tables, the hospital name that we have there, the hospital word as we already see, and an hospital number, which helps us to like each of these hospital names that we're seeing here has been given a number that is easier to pronounce, right? I can easily say they're referencing hospital 17, hospital 31, and so on and so forth. Right, so that is the description of our data. So now let me open up my Power BI. If you do not already have Power BI on your laptop, in the resource that will be shared with you, you would get to see how to download Power BI on your system, right? But if you don't want to wait until then also, you can easily go to your Microsoft store and then download it too. But of course, you need to get access to the data sets to be able to replicate whatever you will be doing in today's session. Right, so are we still together? Are we still following? Okay, great. So I just opened Power BI on my laptop. This is how Power BI opens when you first of all open it. You get to probably open a blank report or choose a data source immediately, right? So we start with a blank report because we'll just be bringing in our data, right, into Power BI. The 4 Excel sheets that we just saw now, we'll be bringing it into our Power BI. So I already did the walkthrough of this. I'll be closing this now just to ensure that my system is very much optimized. So let me say this. All right, so we have here the canvas where we'll be working with the Power BI. So here we could already see get data. We're getting data from an Excel workbook, which we already saw now. So I'll be clicking on this Excel workbook, and then it would require me to like want to open up the data set, right? Select where the data set is currently saved on my laptop, right? So let's just hold on for this. All right, so you can see here, I need to like put in the file path. So I can easily click on browse, and normally I should get to navigate where the data set is currently saved on my system. So I've already downloaded data set. If it's your data set is currently under downloads, just select data sets you want to bring in into your system. So for instance, now I want to bring in bed inventory first of all, and click on open, and then I click on next from here, and it should bring up another page which requires to like select the sheets we want to bring in. So here I'm selecting sheet 1, and it should get to load in this particular space. Let's just hold on for it. Yeah, so the things we already saw in the Excel file while we were checking earlier, we can see it right here as a preview. Right, so here I can just click on load, and then it would open up in my Power BI. Amanda, please drop your question in the chat box. I will take them as I see your question in the chat box. For others, please confirm that you can still hear me. If you can still hear me, just give me a thumbs up. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
fine.
All right, thank you. So on the Power BI, this is currently still loading. So let's just hold on for it. It might take some time because the data set is quite heavy, right? I didn't get to show you that in Excel, but each of the admissions table, the bed inventory table, and the staffing table have more than 100,000 rows of data. So definitely it will take some time to load, and we would have to do this for all of the data sets. So this is currently still loading. Once it is done loading, then we can go ahead to bring in the other tables as well. So let's just give it some time. All right, so you can see here 135 plus rows of data has been loaded, which is why the data pane here is it is showing this data pane. What you can see on this right hand side, you can see here it's called sheet 1 here, which you can still get to rename. But let me bring in the other tables as well. So I'm going to be bringing in my admissions table.
Hello, guys. So while Moriam is doing that, please, if you'd like to receive the attendance form and also the final solution and additional resources based off what she's going to be presenting today, please fill the attendance form that we just dropped in the chat. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, so this is currently at 16.5 MB of the admissions table. Yeah, so it should be almost done now. That is the second data set. So again, I'm going to come to my Excel workbook to bring in the third data set, which is the staffing table. The last one which we'll be bringing in for the words should not take as much time because it doesn't have as much rows of data as this one. It's just like how you, when working with an healthcare based data, you get to definitely the volume of data sets will be much, because of capacity wise, kind of numbers of people they are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So this is something you would typically want to expect when you're working on a project like this using Power BI. Are we still together? Please don't drop your device while the data set is loading. If we are still together, can I get a thumbs up? It shouldn't be very quiet. Are we still here? Okay, great. Thank you, Abimbola, Tosi, and I think I saw Zaid. I'm not sure if that was the name I saw, and Toib as well. This is almost done loading. All right, so we have the four tables that we've brought in right here. You could see it on this right hand side: admissions, the shifts worn, the staffing, and the words. So this is the report view, which is where we'll be building our reports. Then here we have the table view, which is where we get to see the table that we brought in. So for the admissions table, this is currently still loading. We also have for the staffing. So here I could see what we already checked in Excel, so I will not be walking through it again. Then this should be the bed inventory. So I'm just going to rename this so that we won't keep confusing sheets one. We also have the staffing table and also the words table finally. So we have these four tables which we would be working with, right? So first of all, when you are working on a project in Power BI like this, after you brought in your data set, you want to see what we'll call the data model or what we'll call the relationships between the tables, right? So the relationship between the tables would help you to ensure that you can easily work across multiple tables, right? Relating them to each other by the time you are creating your visualizations. Let's just hold on for this. This is taking quite a long time. Please just permit me to put on my camera just to prevent my laptop from lagging. I think I have the data set is quite heavy. That's why it is happening. So while we proceed like this, so this should make it load faster now. All right, so we have this now. So back to the model view. So here on the model view, we could see the four data sets. Here we have the bed inventory, the admissions table, the staffing, and then this last one, which is words. Here we could see like it's currently named column one, column two, column three, column four, which is not appropriate. So we would need to get to clean this first because without the correct column names, you won't be able to like link it to the other tables. So that brings me to open this particular data set in the tool called Power Query, which is embedded in our Power BI. So the Power Query is there to help you to transform your data, sort of, right? So make use of it to like do necessary transformations. If there's any need for you to like clean your data set, if there's any need for you to like probably create some more columns, depending. While some columns can be created right there, some might not necessarily require you to create the data set, to create a new column. Probably bringing an error here because I removed, what is it called? I changed the name of the table after we already brought it into Power BI. So let me just bring in the table again using the Power Query option from here. So I'm going to come under new source here and I get to bring in my data sets all over again so that I can navigate the error that it brought up. The error probably came in because I needed to like rename the table, which is not what it's currently seen anymore in my Power BI. Sorry, my Power Query. All right, so we have this here, the four tables, the admission, the staffing, the words, and also the bed inventory. So in my Power Query now, when I bought a through Power Query, I realized that the headers are already corrected. So we have daytime, we have words, we have the bed type, we have the total birds, we also have the staff birds, and the other one which is still currently loading underneath. When I go to my words table now, it was the words table that made me open it up in Power Query in the first instance. So like I mentioned, what we'll be using Power Query to do here is to um, rename the header, not actually rename it. The headers are already there, but they're not currently positioned at the right place. So once this is done loading, I would open up the words table and from there, we would be able to push up the column name from probably the row one where it's currently at to the header. This is still loading. It's taking quite some time, but let's just be patient with it. If you have filled your attendance form, can I get a thumbs up? If you filled your attendance form, which is currently in the chat box, just give me a thumbs up. From there, we would share with you the data set which we're currently using, and then the final solution to the reports we're building together in Power BI, and also additional resources that you can make use of to learn how to transform data, learn how to analyze data, learn how to build visualizations with the use of Power BI. Yes, the session is recorded. The recording of the session would also be shared across through the attendance form. Please confirm that you got that. Okay, yeah, great. All right, this has finally loaded. So let me go to the words table. So as I was saying, the words table here, you could see in our Excel file, we could see the word in column 1, the hospital in column 2, the hospital word in column 3, and then the hospital number in column 4. Meanwhile, which this what we have here in our first row should actually be at the very beginning here, which is not currently there. So we use this option of this use first row as headers, and from there we would have our word, hospital word, and hospital number automatically promoted to the right place. So while this is done, I can then go back, close and apply, which would bring me back to my Power BI and ensure that my data set will load into like the correct positions. So let's just hold on for that a little bit. After we're done loading the data sets, other things should proceed smoothly, because it's the loading that is taking time, because the tables are quite voluminous. Does anybody understand what Power BI is trying to do right now? If you do, just give me a thumbs up before I try to give an explanation. Okay. Sorry, please, can you still hear me? I think I got frozen for some seconds. Okay, great, thank you. So I was asking that, does anybody understand what Power BI is trying to do right now? So on the screen, you could see this words detecting relationship. Okay, trying to model the data sets. Yes, thank you very much, Feisha. So what Power BI is trying to do right now is, when we say detecting relationships, it's more like, from the word relationship, trying to see how two or more things correlate with each other, right? So for in this instance now, it's trying to see whether the words table can be linked to the other tables that we currently have in our data sets, right? So for instance, now we have the bed inventory table, we have the admissions table, we also have the staffing table, and then the words as well, which is what is currently still. So with this now, while this is done, um, after this is done, we get to see some lines, right? So initially, when I opened up Power BI with our data sets in it, realize that there are no connections between all of the tables, right? But after we ensure that our words table, the column names are corrected, these lines automatically came up. So that is what Power BI is trying to do underneath. So trying to tell that, oh, there might be some related columns between the bed inventory table, for instance, and then the words table, between the admissions table and the words table as well, between the staffing table and also the words table as well. But this is taking quite some time. So let me see if I can cancel it instead and just create the relationship by myself. Also an opportunity for you to see how the relationship can be created. Okay, so this is done loading. So let me just reduce the size a little bit so that we can see the four tables. So we have the bed inventory, we also have the admissions, we also have the staffing, and also the words. So here I could see that it's collected my bed inventory table to the words table, and then the admissions table to the words table as well, the staffing table also to the words table. So from here I could see that, oh, if I over on this line, it's connected my hospital word to the hospital word in this. But over on this also, we have the hospital word here and the hospital word in my admissions table. Could see the two highlights. Then lastly, for this one also, we have the hospital word. So with this, what it does is it created a relationship called like a one-to-many relationship. So here on the one aspect, meaning that one hospital word is related to many of hospital words that we can find in the bed inventory table. So if we take some time to observe our staffing table, for instance, now, you realize that there are, for instance, now this is the same hospital, right? And then this is the same word, right? So many of this can happen in this table. What's only like differentiating them is the date information. Then also my bed inventory also, the same thing is happening here. Same thing for my admissions, right? Many hospital words can be like, can occur multiple times in just this particular single table. But in my words table, we only have one per column, right? One hospital word per per row. Sorry. So here now I could see downward. If you can see these highlights that came up downward when I selected my hospital ward, you see 185 rows. Among this, 185 of them are distinct values. So we only have like a single row per each hospital and ward, right? So hospital 17 has general medicine, it has surgery, it has orthopedics, and so on and so forth like that. So before we move into the final, before we move into like the report building itself, there's one last thing that we want to do, which is the creation of what we call a date table. Can you still hear me? Am I still audible? Am I audible? Okay, thank you. So the date table is there because we're not very sure that, for instance, now in my admissions table, we're not very sure that each admission this time here corresponds to like every day that we have in the year. Same thing for our bed inventory. It's even very easy to like easily see for the bed inventory. Here we could see January 3rd to January 16, January February 23rd to March 20. This would mean that if I'm using data like this, when I want to create my a particular zero January 4th, for instance, it would not. January 4th would just not be on my visualization. So that is why it's really necessary for us, quite simple. So now this my table tools here could see different information, create a new measure, new column, new table. We talk about new measure. So if I select new table here, what I want to create is a particular DAX function called calendar auto. So there is what we call DAX, like DAX, data analysis expressions. Has anybody heard that before? If you have, just give me a thumbs up if I proceed. Or if you haven't, thumbs down so that we can move as fast as possible. So for data analysis expressions, they're like your Excel functions, right? They are there to help you to like probably do some transformations, do some calculations, whatever it is in your data set. So for this table now, there are two functions that we can typically use to create our calendar, like a date table. A date from like a table that will contain all the dates that we have in data sets, right? So there's what we call the calendar auto, and there's what we call the calendar function itself, right? So the calendar function helps us to like create a date column. But what differentiates it from the calendar auto is that with the calendar auto, we can easily it can easily just pick up what is the lowest date and also what is the highest date that we have in the data set, right? While this is still loading, so once it's done, all I need to do is to put in a function called like date is equal to calendar auto, and we'll see generate a new column.
Hi everyone. Mariam will be back with us. She's trying to switch our system. Thank you for your patience.
Hi, everybody. So, Miriam will be joining us shortly. Please let's exercise patience.
So sorry for the inconveniences. Please confirm that you can hear me. I just needed to switch to a different device. Am I audible? Okay, great. So I'm currently sharing my screen now. If you can see my screen also, just give me a thumbs up. Okay, great. So this was where we were at. We already brought in um my staffing table, my bed inventory table, and just expand this a little bit. So we have the bed inventory, we have the admissions, we also have the staffing, and then the words table. And we were trying to create a new column for the dates, right? So I come here. Before initially I was on my table view and could see the new table. Then for my model view also, like it's just different places, right? So I come here, I can click on new table right here. And with this, I can call this probably just any name I want it to be, right? So I call it the date. And remember, I mentioned there are two ways for us to like create a date column, right? So we have the calendar and we have the calendar auto. So what the calendar auto, like I mentioned, does is that it easily just creates a column that is able to like give us all the dates like that we should have in a year. So for instance, now we could see dates from January 1st, 2024. If I scroll all the way down, that means the very last date here should be like 31st of December 2025, meaning that the lowest date and the highest date that we have across the four tables is from 2024 to 2025. So this has been created like that. Then if I come under my model view again, you could see that, oh yes, now I have a date column here, but this is still standalone. I'll need to ensure that I can connect the two tables, like this particular date column, to all these three tables, right? So here I have my date. In my staffing table, I also have a date column right there, right? But not just about connecting, but also like ensuring that the data types also matches, right? So if I come under this date column now, select this, you can see that this here is in date time information. If I go to my bed inventory, this here, it was called date time, but the data type here is date. If I come to my admissions, we have a column here called admission date. This here is in date also, right? So there has been a mix of date and date time, right? So for this now, I want to ensure that everything is the same thing before we now proceed to like creating like any relationship. So what I'll be doing now will just enable you to like also get to know how relationships can be created. So for my admission date now, I can leave this as a dates column, right? For my bed inventory, I have here named date time, but we can see the data type is date. Doesn't matter the name, but the data type matters. Then for my staffing also, I have date here, which is also date. In my words table, doesn't have dates in it, so there's no way for us to connect it. So if I go back to this, my date table that I just created now, I can make this instead of date time to be date as well, right? And with this, we can now go ahead to create the model. So to create the model is quite easy. All I need to do is to drag from one column name to the next column that I want the relationship to be created with. So if I select my date here, let me zoom out a little bit so that you can see clearly. So this is my date. All I need to do is drag it on top of my date information like this. And it requires me to like, okay, the date here should be connected to the date here. One to many, I explained this earlier, one row in my date table can have like, for example, January 1 would only exist once in the date table, but it can occur multiple times in my staffing table, right? So I have this one-to-many relationship, and I have to like make this relationship active. So I do that for this. Then next for my bed inventory, I'm going to repeat the same thing like this, right? And then just click on save. And for the very last table as well, I'm going to repeat the same thing. So I have here, we have the admission date here. So I drag my date to my admission date and also save this as well. Right. So with this now, we can now say that we've concluded the data modeling phase, right? And also like sure that our data set is ready to proceed to analysis. Am I still audible? I think we can flow faster now. If you can hear me clearly, just give me a thumbs up. Okay, great. What we're doing now is that when it comes to data analysis, so it's not just about saying you want to create visualizations, right? You just want to create a report, you want to create a dashboard. No, it's not just about that. It's you as an analyst being having like an inquisitive mind, right? You are able to ask questions. You're able to like decide on, okay, this is what I want to be able to visualize in my report, right? So on this particular project, now, if you remember when I was doing the introduction, we talked about that we want to try to understand the bed availability, how they're also like able to meet up with like the staffing demands, want to see where the demand, how admissions are like coming in, how is it translating to number of beds that they have today, should they be very how would I describe this? Should they be very conscious about the number of people that they're trying to admit in and many other things, right? So with that, if you have that in mind, then you can also start asking yourself that, okay, from this data set that I already have, right? So what kind of questions do I want to ask just myself, or what kind of insights do I want to be able to get from it, right? So for me now, I've thought about this already, which would make it quite faster. But for you, if you're doing it from scratch, it requires like actually sit down and try to brainstorm a little bit, right? So some of the things that I would want to see in the report that will be created is I want to see how many admissions are actually even getting in, right? And not just how many admissions, I would also want to see what is the average daily admissions like. So if on my admissions table now, we could see that we have admission date time, right? So we want to see, okay, what's the total number of admissions that we currently have? And if anybody asks us that, okay, on a daily basis, what is the typical number of admissions that they do have? You should be able to see that on our dashboard. And okay, another thing also, say for instance, our length of stay that we have here, what is the average number of length of stay that a patient would typically stay in the hospital for, right? So we could visualize that as well. But then our focus is not just on the admissions alone, but also on the bed, right? The bed inventory, right? So on this bed inventory table, now I have things like the total beds, staff beds, occupied beds, closed beds. This should be able to like tell us. Sorry, Naomi, I'll be meeting you. All right. So this should be able to like tell us some information as well, right? So now, okay, what is the typical number of total beds that we have? But remember, this data set is not just for one hospital alone, right? And this is like an inventory that was taken across different dates. So we cannot say that we want to sum up our total beds, because that would mean that we're just summing up all of these numbers together. It's not give us a reasonable insight, because it's just like saying, okay, today I checked general medicine ward. I counted the number of general beds that we have, and then what's the number of staff beds, what's the number of occupied beds? Is it still the same 35 beds that we have on January 3rd that we have on January 16th? We cannot say, okay, with this now, total number of beds that we have is 70. No, that would give us a very wrong insight. So what we can do here is to get probably like an average, sort of, right? But then it's not just about knowing the numbers alone, but being able to like relate it in the sense that, okay, out of this total breads, how many percent of it are actually staffed? What is the percentage number of beds that are currently occupied, right? What is also like our staffing coverage? What does it seem like? Do we have like I've been speaking for quite a while already. I'm so sorry. I didn't know I got stop mentioned briefly. At what point did you stop hearing me? Am I audible? Okay. All right. So before I got disconnected, I was talking about some KPIs that we would like to see on our dashboard right here, like as a form of like summary metrics that could tell us what our data sets or what our dashboard or what insights that we're generating from, right? So I'll be creating some measures, which is what we'll be using to like do some form of visualizations, right? So here we could see on our home tab, there's what we call like a new measure button right here. So for instance, now we could say that I want to create a measure that says, okay, what is the total number of admissions that we have? Or what is the average number of daily admissions that we have, and so on and so forth. So could you say you want to create like a new measure? But one way your creation of measures would also like get organized is if you actually like store them in like a table of its own, right? So before I even proceed to creating the measures, I'll create an empty table that I can just call this measures, right? So I just call these measures and it's create like an empty information like this, and every other thing that I want to create can now then be stored in our measure. So measures also make use of what we call like the DAX. DAX I already talked about earlier, or data as expressions are like functions that enable you to like do some calculations, right? So to start with, I can say I want to get out the total number of admissions, right? And with this, it's like me counting the number of rows that we have in our admissions table, like counting the admissions ID, right? So I can say I want to do a distinct count, for instance, of each admission ID that I have in my data set. And this resolves the problem. And then for other thing also, like the average daily admission. The average daily admission will tell us that, okay, on a daily basis, what is the typical number of admissions that we have, say, on each day, right? So I can use a function also called average, but with a little bit of difference, right? There's the normal average and there's what we call iterator functions that it helps you to like loop through each column, for instance, and then gives you like a count, for instance. In this instance, instead of saying like normal average that says average of total number of admissions, what it should do is do a count of total admissions, then divided by number of rows of data that I have in my admissions table. But I don't want it to like just use the admissions table because we are not sure whether it has all the tables necessary for that, like all the dates, sorry, necessary, right? It could be that there's admission on day one, there's no admission on day two. If I do like a normal average, it counts just one day, right? Instead, it should loop through and say, I want to count by the total number of days that we have in the year. So I can say average daily admissions, for instance, and I use the iterator function, the average X. So here now it requires me to like, okay, what is it looping through? It's looping through the date table that I already created, and I'm asking it to do an average of my total admissions column that I already created, right? That's another thing also. Another thing which you can say we want to calculate, like I mentioned earlier, is this length of stay, right? We could say we want to get out, okay, what is the average length of stay? That will tell us, okay, what's the typical number of days or typical number of hours that a patient will spend in the hospital, like an admitted patient, not somebody that is at the outpatient clinic, right? This is dealing with admissions, right? So I can come here also again and click on new measure. I'm going to call this average length of stay in days, right? So I can say this should be what is the average. Here, let me just type in length of stay in hours. It's currently in hours, right? But I want it to be in days. That's more like saying that you're dividing by 24 hours, right? Which is very much straightforward. Before I proceed, let me just show some of these calculations that we already did. Am I still audible? Are we still together? Are we still together, everybody? Or we're already dropping our devices? Okay, great. So for instance, now there are different visuals here, different visual types, right? But we're currently like saying you want to show like a KPI card, right? So on this KPI card, for instance, I did a calculation of total admission. So here now I could see that, oh, total number of admissions that you have is 200,000, right? The average length of stay that we did, we also have this here. Oh, the average length of stay is 4.17. We also did what's it called? Average daily admissions, right? So the average daily admissions that we have is 273. But we cannot say that we are admitting 273.94%, right? So we could easily make that like an O number. So from this format right here, I can make this an whole number. So we have, okay, 274 daily admissions. Our average length of stay, for instance, is about 4.17, right? So another thing which we can get to say we want to include as part of our KPI cards is to say that, okay, what is the average number of beds that we have that are usually staffed, right? So for instance, now under my bed inventory table, I have total beds, I have staff beds. So I'm trying to say that, oh, out of the staff beds, what is like the percentage of our staff beds, percentage of the staff beds compared to like the total number of beds? Or we're trying to say, okay, what is total percentage of our occupied beds out of our staff beds, right? So with this now, I'm going to create a new measure called the average staff bed occupancy. So saying that, okay, half of our occupied beds, what is the percentage of it that is currently staffed, right? So we are saying, okay, average of staffed, average of occupied, and we are dividing both, right? So with this, I'm also like introducing a new DAX measure. Some of the DAX measures that I have pointed out already are things like your distance count, for instance, your average, for instance, your average X also, for instance. Then there's also what we call the variables, right? Variables. So the variables are there to kind of like create like a temporary measure that will not be visible in the actual table, but we can use it in this same calculation. So here I can say that, oh, create a variable that is called the average staff beds, right? And I call this average staff bed is equal to the average of the number of staff beds that we have, right, in our bed inventory table. This is one variable. I can say create another variable that is called the average number of occupied beds, right? So for instance, now, so just the same thing I did earlier, this would be equal to, okay, on my bed inventory table, we have occupied beds, right? So this does the average of this. So this is what, okay, we've created a temporary function here, another temporary function again. So we can now make use of this thing, these two, in our final calculation. Say, okay, now return a calculation that divides, what is it called? My average occupied beds by the average number of staff beds. So you could see these two variables that we just created downwards here. So we have average occupied beds as the numerator and average staff beds as the denominator, like this, right? So this has created a new measure for us called average staff bed occupancy. So if I come back to my report view and add this right here, we'll see that, oh, the average staff bed that we have here is currently showing 1, but let's see the data type. This is currently in a whole number. Meanwhile, we could see it as a form of a percentage, right? So this is telling us that, oh, out of this particular table, which is my bed inventory table, where we have occupied beds to staff beds, they're saying that 86% of our staff beds are occupied. Does that make sense to us? Do we understand the logic of what I'm trying to do? If you're still following, just give me a thumbs up if I proceed. Thank you, Yao. Any other person? Okay. I'm trying to pronounce your name, but I couldn't. But I'm glad to see that you are still following. Right. So that is telling us that, oh yes, 86% of our staff beds are occupied. At the same time, we could also get that, okay, out of our occupied beds, out of our total beds, how many of the beds are actually occupied? No, this one is talking about the staffed. You could see the one in relating to the total number of beds, right? So we have this for the staffed. So instead of average staff bed, we could do average total bed occupancy, right? So that brings me to also like create a new measure, but it's quite similar to this. So I'm just going to copy this and use it to create a new measure. Just do some editing, right? So instead of average staff bed, I can add this as average total bed, right? So we are still doing a division of our occupied beds by the total bed this time around, not the staff bed. So we have this. So if we run this also now, and also make this a percentage and also include it in our KPI card, you could see that, oh, the percentage of our total bed occupancy is about 86.25. I want to see if I made the correct change. So here we have the average staff bed. Then also for the average total bed. Yeah, so we have this matrix that we've already created right now. So other things that you could say you want to do on your own end possibly are things like, okay, what is the percentage of our, in terms of like the staffing, what is the percentage of our planned staff to the actual number of staff, right? So for instance, now if you go to the staffing table, right? So here we have planned staff and we also have the actual staff, right? So we could say that we want to find out what is the average staffing coverage, right? What is the relationship between our actual staff number and our actual, like the planned staff, which is something we can easily do right now. Let me just do that quickly. So same logic that we use to create the staff bed and total bed. So I can come here and create a new measure. I call this the average staffing coverage. Remember, we're making use of average because the data set is not, we're not doing sum, it's instead because we are having like snapshot of data across different dates. So doing a sum is more like we are escalating, right? So for instance, now we could have, say for instance, the emergency units, we have Feishayo, we have Olainka, we have Oluwatosin working today, right? Tomorrow we also have the same set of people. We can say total number of people that we have working for us is 6. So what we can do is to do the average, 3 plus 3 today, 3 tomorrow, then divided by 2. So we get, okay, the average number of people that we have working per day is 2 people. Right, so that's why we're making use of the average. I'll take questions very soon. So here I'm doing the same variable. I have my average actual staff, which is again my average function, average of what the actual staff table, the actual staff column. Then again, I can create another variable that is called the average planned staff. With this, I can call it again, use the same average function. Here, I'm doing the average of planned, just like this. And then I can now ask it to return a division of the actual to the staff, right? So average actual divided by average of planned will tell us, okay, what is the percentage of number of people that we actually have that is working for us on a daily basis? Are we meeting the coverage, the necessary number of people that we have that we set for us? So you're saying 0.87. This hasn't been converted to percentage as well. So we have the 6 KPIs that we have created, right? So I'm just going to take a pause on this. But before we begin to create other visualizations, let's just create a what is it called? A title for our report that we want to create. So there's a function, there's an option here where you can easily include a text box, right? So let me just move this to the very beginning. So it's really more about knowing where to do your placement, more like having a wireframe in mind on what you want to put on your dashboard, right? So I can call this, for instance, or Horizon Health Network, which is the name of the company we are working with. And we're saying we want to do like an operational information. They're trying to like get out things relating to their operations, right? Operational bed demand. We're also talking about their capacity and staffing sort of. So we can call this as our header. You can also reduce, if you want, you can streamline the, what is it called? The heading to something entirely different, right? So let me just make use of this, just some quick editing so that I will not delay this to the end. So I have this as the title of my dashboard. Good to go. Then the KPIs that we just created are currently underneath it, just as we have seen right here. So what is next for us is now asking ourselves, what additional questions can we explore? Does anybody want to try? Does anybody want to try? What kind of information do you think we can get to see on the dashboard in relating to what we are trying to do right now? Yeah, do you want to try? I think I I've seen Yao following. Same with Feishayo, Olainka, Oluwatosin, Simisola. Those are people I'm currently seeing on my screen. I will do together before I proceed. Even if you're not trying, just let me know that you're still following. Okay, Tosin is still here. Okay, now I see why it was quiet. You do not want to try, but you're still following. No problem. All right, so some of the things that we would like to see on our dashboard right now, things relating to the bed I've actually talked about, right? What is the average number of total beds that we have, the staff bed that we have, the occupied beds that we have, the closed bed that we have also by the different wards. That way we can get to try to know, okay, which particular word needs focus, right? And we can also like filter it by probably the hospital as well, the hospital name or the hospital, like the hospital word. Right. So for instance, now I could get to see that, oh, is it that general medicine has more beds and then they still have more number of closed beds? Or is it that ICU, for instance, one of the words, how many number of beds do they typically have, right? How many of them are actually functional? How many of them are usually staffed? That's one thing we could get to see. Another thing which we'll get to see also, for instance, is we talked about staffing coverage, right? So we could see, okay, for each of these different words, what particular word is having more staffing coverage? Which one should we get to take a look at, right? Which one do you want to prioritize in form of like knowing where to employ people for, where to increase their capacity, right? That's another thing we could also like get to see. Another thing which we can actually also do is in relating to our admissions table. So we talked about the average daily admissions, right? So we could visualize what the average number of admissions that we have on a daily basis, like what is the average number of admissions that we have currently, and then we can use that to also like do a forecasting, right? I will it together. We can use it to do a forecasting to see, okay, in the nearest future, what is the typical number of average daily admission that we should be expecting. That way, they can use it to like want to prioritize hiring also, how they admit people. Okay, let us know that, oh, say for instance now, currently we can see that the average daily is 274, right? So we can use that to check that, okay, in the following years also, should we still be expecting 274 across all the number of hospitals? Remember, we have like 37 hospitals, like I mentioned earlier. So we could use that to check as well. So let's start with that. So among all these different visuals, there's also what we call a line chart. A line chart is there to help you create a form of like a trend analysis, right? So you can easily see trend. You want to visualize something by the year, by the day, as the case may be, right? So here we could see that, oh, I selected the line chart. It requires things like putting the x-axis and also the y-axis, right? So the x-axis in this instance would be that, oh, the date information, right? Then the y-axis, what are we trying to see the trend, which is the average daily admission. So if I come here, I have average daily admission. I need to start here. So I can bring this to my y-axis. It's currently just showing a dot. And then in my date table I already created, remember I said that having this date table just ensure that we're checking through all the dates that we have in the data set. So I select this. So this is what, first of all, is showing me, which is not something we can easily interpret right now, but we could see that, oh, there's variations. If I overrun it, you could see this is May 20, for instance. The average daily admission that we have there is 274. If I use this drill up option now, it's now showing me, okay, from January to the last date, which is December, right? So this is visualization. Okay, this is average daily number of admissions that we have. Then a quick forecasting, right, to see, okay, beyond these dates, what is the average daily admission that we should be expecting? So I can come under this add further analysis to your visual, then click on this forecast option. So under my forecast option now, you can see different options here. What is the forecast length? This is 10 points, right? This is 10 points, just saying that, okay, by the number of data points, this currently is separated by months. So it's just forecast up to 10 months after this, right? So you could see up to October, for instance. So if, for instance, if I say, instead of forecasting up to just 10 months, let's say, what about 12 months? Can tell you that, oh, by January of 2026, they should be expecting average daily admission of 267. By July, they should be expecting average of 273. By December, they should be expecting average of 271. So this is making use of historical data, like based on the trend, based on what it has noticed earlier. Can we use that to predict what the daily number of admissions we would have in the nearest future, right? And at the end of the day, we could also like still include some filters here or some slicers. They also like probably select for each particular hospital to see, okay, what is their own average daily admission like? Which is something I will still get to add, but let's just leave this as this for now. Are we still together? Is it making sense to us? Thank you, Abraham. I want to believe others are also still here. So in addition, another thing which we can get to see is in terms of like the total birds, like I mentioned, you could see what is the average is like, which particular ward is having more beds, which ward is having higher number of closed beds, and so on and so forth, right? So here, another option here is to use what we'll call like a stacked bar chart or a stacked column chart, or making use of a clustered bar chart or a clustered column chart. For this, I'll use a clustered column chart, which you get to see why now. A clustered column chart helps you to like separate different categories and you see them like distinctly, unlike a stacked column chart. On this visual now, you could see the difference. One is on top of each other, one is by the side of each other, right? So I can come again to my bed inventory table, select my word, right, which is currently on the x-axis. Then on the y-axis, now I want to see, okay, what is the total number of beds that we have, like the average number, not total. Remember, we keep making use of average because it's a snapshot of data, right? Not something we want to sum up. But by default, this would aggregate to sum, so I can change it to average. We could see that, oh, the average number of beds that we have for general medicine is about 44. We could round it up to nearest whole number. We are not just looking to check total beds alone. We want to see, what is it called? The staff bed also. So again, I had my staff bed. I can change it also to average, right? I also have my occupied bed, right? I bring this here also and I change it to average. Then lastly, for my closed bed, so I bring this here also and change this to average, right? So with this now, let me still expand it so that we can see very well. So this is what we're currently seeing. Oh, general medicine actually has higher number of total beds, right? But same thing, from total beds, it decreased to their start bed, then it decreased to the number of occupied beds. They could see the number of closed beds, the average number of closed beds that they do have, like on a typical basis. And to help us easily like get to read the numbers without having to overrun it, I can come under my format visual and ask it to include data label. This is quite tiny for now. Let me format this under the value. So I can make it 0 decimal places, right? And then also increase the font size so that I can see it very well. So this is what we're currently seeing now. So you could see, oh, general medicine has 44. No, this is not showing correctly. Let me see. Okay, yeah, okay, because I rounded it up. Before it was for 3.65, then it was 4.38. So the rounding up made it both 44, right? Then the average number of occupied beds typically is 39. So meaning that they still have opportunity, like typically to admit more number of people. While on a typical basis, one bed is always like 40 sort of, which they need to like want to look into, right? So this is for this. I can make this smaller now or possibly just increase the size of my dashboard. But let's still have this by the side. Another thing which we can get to see is we talked about staffing coverage also. Are we still together? Okay, great. So we talked about staffing coverage also, right? So from here now, I could say we want to bring in a column chart, for instance, or a bar chart, anyone, and say we want to be able to visualize what is the staffing coverage for the different words, right? So that way they know, okay, which word should they prioritize, right? We are looking into my word table here. And also there's also even words from here too. So we could actually select from here too, and then select my average staffing coverage. So we have this. So what is this telling us? This is telling us that in terms of like the staffing coverage, ICU words typically have more coverage, like in terms of like their number of staff that they do have compared to what they actually planned. They have more coverage. But in terms of like the HDU, meaning that, say for instance now, they are planning to have 100, but in actual fact, what they do have is 78, right? So that means that they are working like extremely below capacity. That means that the people that are there are like overworked, right? So that's another meaningful insight which we can get out from this. Let me just include the data labels here also so that we can easily see the numbers. All right, so this is another thing which we just visualized just now. So you can see for it's quite tiny. Let me all right, so you can see ICU, general medicine, surgery, orthopedics, HDU, and so on and so forth. Their staffing coverage, right? Usually when you already have like data labels like this, we do not need to have the axis labels anymore, like this 0 to 80 is like repetition, right? Since you have something directly telling us, all you need to do is to just turn this off when you are formatting, but it's easy. Under your x-axis visual here, you turn off the values, right? So this is just another insight which we have brought out from our analysis, right? In addition, one more thing which we can also like get to see is in terms of like the staff bed occupancy that we have there. We could say that, oh, let's see how it varies over the year across the different periods that we have in terms of like the different words as well. So you could make use of, say for instance, another line chart, right? Are we still together? We would be rounding up soon, but are we still together? All right. Thank you, Abraham. Any other person? Any other person still trying to follow? And please remember to fill your attendance so that you get to see the final solution, also the data sets and additional resources so that we can share them with you. The attendance is in the chat box, so please fill it. So here also we could say we want to include this is already a line chart, right? So we have our average staff bed occupancy right here. Then we have the date currently showing for all the dates. I can make use of the drill functions here. So we could see, okay, this is how our staff bed in terms of like number of occupied compared to like the staffing ratio, like staffing, occupancy to staffing sort of, right? So say for instance now, here is telling us that this is December, right? Yes, December of 2024. 6% of our staff bed were occupied, right? But in addition to this, we could say that we want to be able to see it for each of the different words, sort of. So this is telling us that, oh, even with this, you can easily see that for general medicine, they have the lowest staffing coverage, right? No, this is for general medicine. No, this is for HDU. Yes, you can see from the HDU 73, then the one at the very beginning, very top here, which is the general medicine one. While formatting, you can change the colors to be very distinct so that you do not have, what is it called? You do not have similar colors that you get to like be misinterpreted. Right, so these are some examples of visuals that we could create, but definitely you could still do more. So one more thing which I would say you can do as a form of an assignment for you, if you get to practice on this project by yourself, is to create a risk scoring metric, right? So let's get to say that, oh, across the different hospitals, which particular ward is having like a high risk sort of. So say for instance now, they're having their staff bed occupancy to be greater than, say for instance, 90%, and then their staffing risk is less than 90%. That means that, oh, there's a risk somewhere, right? They need to like quickly work on it. Like saying that we have more people, we have more patients that are trooping in, but our staffing coverage is lower than what our capacity can take. Right? So it's like a high risk. That means that it can easily signal to the organization that they need to know how they can, what's it called? They can redirect their patient inflow, right? Or they can increase their staffing coverage and also like their bed information, like their bed availability, like number of beds that they do have. Just one last thing to do here before I take questions quickly. So we have from here now, remember that we have, what is it called? Different hospitals, but this is giving us like an overhead summary of all of the hospitals, right? So we could say that there should be a time where we can easily like just view information for just a single hospital alone. But before that, let me increase the size of this dashboard so that we can have more space to put in more stuff. So under my format page right here, there's what we call canvas settings, which is where you see this type. This is already custom. All right, so you could say that I want to increase, by default, this is 1,600 points for the width and then 900 for the height. So you could say that maybe instead of 1.6, you could have 1.9. Yeah, so it gives me more space at the side. Then this can also give me more space. That's like the height. So it gives me the opportunity to just increase the size of my visuals while still having more space to put in more information. Yes, are we still together? If you are here, just give me a thumbs up. Or if you understand what I just did now, okay, great. So in addition, like I mentioned, we can include some slicers here that we can easily use to filter our dashboard. So for instance now, the hospital, right? So there's a visual here called slicer, right? So here I can come under hospital number and include it in the slicer. So that means that if I select just hospital 1, my visual should filter for just hospital 1. So that I can see that, oh, the average daily admission that they have for hospital 1 is 8. Average length of stay is 4. Then this is their occupancy, staff bed occupancy rate. Then that's like their own forecast. It's showing that, oh, on average, you should be expecting about 7, right? Based on their historical information. And we have all of this. So we can easily use it to like filter across different hospitals to get out much more insights. That's one thing. Another thing which you can also use here is, say for instance, you want to include a date filter, for instance, or even a bed type, right? So you could add more slicers based on whatever additional information you think is necessary for you to be able to like use to filter your dashboard. So here, for instance, now I can bring in my dates, right? So here we can say, okay, I want to just filter across maybe January of 2024 to 31st of July. This is very tiny for now, but you could definitely increase the information, the font size. Yes, so this is bigger now. For this also, you could change the slicer type. So this is currently like a form of list. So if you come under your slicer setting, you can make it like a drop down, for instance, right? That way it doesn't populate or doesn't occupy all the space. So this is where I would be taking a pause for now. Once to want to ask questions, we can take some questions before I hand over to. Sorry, is Amon still on the call? Amon, are you here? All right. I think I've seen it already. Do you have questions? Anything you'd like to get clarifications on before we end the before I stop sharing my screen? But if you followed up to this end, can I get a thumbs up? Let me confirm that I had people following up to this very point. Great. All right, that's quite a number. All right, Ray, I think that's Ray. Your hand is raised. Do you want to ask something? You can go ahead and unmute. You are not unmuted. I mean, for Ray.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, my sister actually sent me this link for a project management training or something, but I'm not so sure. Please, can I get clarification? I'm sorry. I came late as well, but I'm sorry about that.
Okay. Yes. So different days for different sessions. So for today, we are focused on talking about data analysis, right? So, or the Tech Career series for Thursday, I believe. Omomi, am I right? For Thursday, we will be having like session focused on project management, business analysis.
Okay, this is for data analysis. Okay, if we were to go with this, yeah, where do we need to
Okay.
start from? This is just like an insight of what should be happening in the training or what?
Yes, exactly.
So
Omomi
when
will
is
be
this?
talking more on that
Okay.
very soon.
Okay. Thank you so much. At least I know what's going on here now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for listening through. Any other question? Olumide, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, sorry, can you take over this session for me? I would need to join my other drop-in session right now.
All right, thank you very much. I don't know if my mom is here. Let me give her send a message.
Thank you very much, Abraham. I saw the reaction. And Olayinka as well.
All right. Hi guys. Thank you so much, Moriam, for that. And thank you so much, everybody. So I'll just wrap up right now by showing you how you can join the Amdari internship. By the way, everything Moriam shared is pretty much more like a tip of what the internship is all about. In the internship program at Amdari, you get to work on solving real business problems, health tech data, fintech data, real estate data, just to mention a few, right? And one thing I also would like to mention, I'm going to share my screen right about now. One thing I'd also like to mention is the fact that with this internship program, right, you get to cover projects across different sectors. And the projects you cover in the course of these 5 months is 5 to 6, or rather, in the course of these 4 months, is 5 to 6 projects. And please, if you're yet to fill the attendance form, just like we dropped earlier, you want to do that so that we can send you this session recording, not just this session recording, but also some other resources as well as the solution and data set to the projects that Moriam just took us through, right? So, like I said, right, this internship is a combination of work experience and employability as well as job application support. So you're not just working on solving problems, but we're also revamping your CV, optimizing your LinkedIn, and prepping you for interviews at different points. All right. So this is someone who got a job as a data analyst. His name is Jerry. He interned with us as a data analyst. And 2 months into his internship, he was able to secure a job. Now, one thing I would like to highlight is the same way we had Moriam on this call. Moriam is actually one of the specialists at Amdari. So that's more like a line manager. Now, we call them specialists because they are specialized in your niche, like your niche of interest, your field of interest. So as a data analyst interning at Amdari, your line manager is not someone random. It's not anyone random. Your line manager is an actual specialist in that field, so that you're well guided, you're well supported, and you're well put through the entire process of building competence, right? So now Jerry got a job as a data analyst while still in the UK. The interesting thing about his story is that he relocated to Canada this year and he got a job using Amdari. So that's just one internship experience. And he was able to secure 2 roles at different points and at different countries, right? Now, he shared this good news with just the same way Moriam, was here. Emeka was his own team lead. And then he shared the good news saying, "Hi, Emeka, I just wanted to officially let you know that I have landed a data analyst role within the civil service, and it's a level promotion too. I was asked to prepare a presentation on any data analysis project. I edited and submitted our first project. Saved me a lot of time and gave me confidence." Now, he did not have to submit the 5th project, the 4th project. The first one was what he submitted, and he got a job with the civil service. Now, if you look at his LinkedIn today, of course, it carries that he interned at Amdari, right? But not as an intern. It doesn't, we're the ones that know that it's an internship. For them, they see it more as you working in that organization, because we call you consultants, not interns, right? We do not refer to you as interns. And he's currently working with Alberta Blue Cross as a data sync analyst. Please feel free to do a screenshot and look him up on LinkedIn. Now, I said fast forward to this year, he got a job in Canada because he relocated to Canada. And that's where he sent us this request for reference addressed to Ifemena Ipro, the other co-founder of Amdari. And he says, "Hello, Ifemena. I hope you're doing well. I recently moved to Canada about 2 weeks ago and have secured a role in the meantime as a data entry specialist with Alberta Blue Cross. For the application, I listed my role as a data consultant at Amdari." Now, what this says, like 2 things that I love about these guys, is he moved to Canada rather, and in 2 weeks he got a job. We all understand what the reality of an immigrant anywhere is, right? Whether it's UK, whether it's Canada, whether it's US, you don't break in 2 weeks. It takes months to break in. But Jerry here relocated to Canada from the UK, and he used Amdari for his job application. And in 2 weeks, he already got a job in the data space. He did not have to live the same reality that he lived in the UK, trying to get a job, going years without getting a job. And he had lived in the UK for over a year before he stumbled on Amdari. And then he applied to the internship at Amdari, and he got a job 2 months later, right? So why is this different? Honestly, it's because we bring the wealth of knowledge from not just being job seekers, right? From not just being job seekers, but also employers. Because I know I didn't introduce myself. My name is Omaumi, and I'm one of the co-founders of Amdari. But then I started my career as a software engineer, and moving on to project management after that. Then I moved on to business analysis. Now, all this journey indicates I used to be a job seeker, obviously. Now, being one of the co-founders of Amdari, and of course, I had already founded a company even before Amdari. That also gives me the perspective of a hiring manager. So I'm telling you for a fact that one of the areas or major aspects where people get it wrong is misalignment. Recruiters are looking for candidates for a particular vacancy, not because, oh, it would be so cool to have a data analyst on my team. Oh, it would be so amazing to have a project manager. That's not why companies hire.
They hire because there is a problem, there is a skill gap, there is an inefficiency problem, or somebody resigned and now there is a vacancy. And that role is important for one or two factors that contribute to revenue, right? If you're a data analyst working anywhere, we know that you're giving them insight that helps them make informed business decision, right? If you're a project manager, we know that you're helping them ship projects faster, launch projects faster within budget, working with the right team to ensure that everybody is aligned, right? Whether with stakeholders, whether with clients, it depends on the kind of company that you're practicing as a project manager. Now, again, I just want to establish that those vacancies exist because you're meant to come in to solve a problem. There is a problem that exists. I'm speaking to you in an interview. I'm speaking from the place of, I know the problem we have in this company. Now, is it Abraham that can fix this for us? Is it Olatunji? Is it Simisola? I'm going to be asking questions that will help me weigh the capacity you're going to be bringing on board. And from the conversation, I can tell if Abraham has the capacity to help us, if Naomi has the capacity to help us, because I'm the one that knows where, where the shoe hurts, right? So for you now, if you've now had the taste or the exposure of working in a system, in an organization, it makes it super easy for you to be able to say, oh, this is how I'm going to solve this problem for you. And that makes it easy for them to trust you because now you have proof. Not just, oh, I have taken a course, I promise you I'm passionate, I can deliver. It is not enough. Proof is what clears their doubts, right? Because they don't know you personally. It's in the conversation, it's in the proof, it's in the images of your portfolio that they can now say, oh, okay, I think we can go ahead with Mayowa or Olabisi, and it just goes on like that. Now, Abisoye right here on my screen got a job as a cybersecurity specialist with the NHS. Right here, it says, he got a job with Royal Devon University Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust, right? Now, he interned with us, and right here, you would see the reference request that came in from the trust that hired him. And it says right here, sorry guys, it says right here, Abisoye has applied for the role of a cybersecurity specialist with Royal Devon University Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust, and they just requested for us to complete the reference section. Then, last person for this reference purpose is Sandra Odushola Stevenson. She interned with us as a GRC analyst and got a job as a data protection paralegal with Hello DPO, right here, as you can see, right? And one thing that I can tell you all on this call is the beautiful thing about this internship is our guys always get a job in that career path that they interned under. Like, if I cannot tell you anything 100%, I can tell you that for a fact that when they eventually get the job, they get it within the field that they intern. And another thing is we have a lot of interns, about 60% success rate. They get jobs in a month, 2 months, 3 months, or 4 months. Some people get the job after the internship, not necessarily everyone getting it whilst in the program, right? But again, the guarantee is that for us at Andari, we're committed to working with you until you get the job. So just to skip all this, because there are more people who have gotten jobs, and just to manage the time, because I know that the live session with Moriam already took so much time, but these are just more people who have gotten jobs. And once you're enrolled in the internship, you become this guy, right? A consultant, not an intern. And you work with this guy. This is Moriam, for example, okay? This is Moriam. And that's how we have more of people like Moriam on the team. You cover projects in health tech, just like you saw in the presentation today. You cover projects from fintech, and these are projects from real companies, okay? Not hypothetical projects. Now, not only are you working on real projects from real organizations, but even the team formation, so that you don't have to, you don't have to imagine your team into the picture or anything like that. You're working with real and actual people, okay? Then, this is one of our interns who got a job also. Because of time, that's why I'm skipping this so that I can just walk you through how to secure your spot. She got a job, and during one of the activation summits that we had, she came on board to share the good news of how she was able to get the job. She shared this good news with new intakes, right? New interns, not people trying to decide, oh, should I join Amdari? Should I not join Amdari? No, they had already decided, they had already joined us. And she was able to share with them that, guys, you are actually on the right path. This journey you're embarking on is one that you would be happy you started. because at the end of the day, I was once in this position, newbie at Amdari, day one, and 2 months in, 3 months in, I eventually got a job, and I'd never worked as a business analyst before. That is the story of Faith and so many other people in this program. Now, you'd also get a couple of testimonials sent to your email, because I know that we have people that have filled the form already. So you can listen to them. Like I said, I don't want to take too much of your time, because I know that the presentation from our specialist already stretched into the hour. Right now, the next cohort is starting on the 5th of September, which is in about 4 weeks' time. We just started a new cohort 2 days ago. That's Saturday. Like, they just started their own journey. And yes, it's not too late. If you still want to join the guys that just started on Saturday, you can join them. Like I said, their day one is literally today. So enrolling today can give you access to start with them tomorrow, right? Because they are still new in the program. Enrollment is on for the September cohort, and if it's the August one that you still want to join, like I said, it's not too late to join. And enrollment fee is £800. Now, because this is a new cohort, we're running an early bird discount. This early bird discount allows you to pay £600. Now, it is 200 from each month, because this 600 is paid in 3 installments, not 1 installment, right? It's paid in 3 installments, and you distribute this payment across 3 months. Now, this is a zero risk promise. I understand that many people have gone on to take different programs and they have their doubts, their fears. Oh, what if this is another, sham like the other ones? Amdari is giving you this zero risk promise, and I'll walk you through it as I go. So I'm taking questions on enrollment next, but let me show you exactly how to secure your spot, okay? So once you click on the link that I'm going to be dropping in the chat right now. So sorry guys, it's loading. Okay. So this is the link in the chat. I'm dropping it. Okay, my colleague has also dropped it already. So you'll be redirected to this page. Right on this page, please select the program you want to enroll for. Is it data analytics? Is it data science? Click on apply here. Okay. Once you do that, you'll be redirected to the page where you can read more details about the program. Right here, you can play the video of Ifemena Ipro. That's the other co-founder of Amdari. These are some of the other mentors you get to work with. It's currently loading. Yes, like I said, just like we have Moriam, we have more people, right? This is another of our mentor, and you can still scroll to see more of them right here. Okay, so this is another person, but I think it's loading. So once you're good, you've read through everything, you can easily just click on apply. So this is another specialist that our data analysts work with, and it's across all our programs. There are different specialists you get to work with in the course of the internship. So once you're here now, the beautiful thing is you can pay lesser than 600. Okay, how do I fill in my details? Oh, Ray, are you referring to making payments or to fill the attendance form? Let me know which of the two you mean. If it's for the attendance form,
to
yeah?
fill the attendance form, yeah. Then
Okay,
number 2,
thank you.
is there discount for people like me or persons like me coming from Nigeria? Like, I'm not in London and all of that. That £600 is a lot of money here, so I don't really know how it works.
All right, so there is £50 extra discounts for you. So I'll just give you a coupon code. You'd receive it in your email, and don't worry, you'd receive it in your email once you fill the attendance form. So my colleague is going to drop the link. Yes, my colleague is going to drop the link right now. So Olumide, please, can you drop the link again? So please just fill the attendance form, and you'd receive everything in your email, including the discount code. So guys, yes, thank you. So as I was saying, right, once you guys are redirected to this page, now you can pay lesser than that 600 that I mentioned, and that is only when you pay one-time payment. Remember, this 600 is for 3 installments, right? 200, 200, 200 across 3 months. But then this one is for 10 installments. That's paying every week 10 times, right? And of course, I always tell people that if you're looking for the best financial, option, right? This one, full payment, because now you get to pay just 500 and not 800. 3 installments, you get to pay 600 and not 800. Again, this is early bird discount, guys. Early bird, it goes back to 800 full payment from Friday. So if you want to take advantage of this discount, I would encourage that you do so. Select when you want to start. Is it September? Is it October? But what better time to start than yesterday, really? And the good thing about this, we always encourage people, right? Even though you want to, and if you want to start in in August, you can still select September. We're going to manually change it for you on the back end. You just let me know here that, oh, mommy, I don't want to wait till September 5th. Can I start tomorrow? If you want to start tomorrow, I can just change it. But if you want to wait till 5th of September, that is also fine. Okay. And then you come here, select full payment if you want to pay lesser, select 3 installments if you want to pay in 3 installments. Okay. And then click on proceed to payment. So just give me a minute, guys. Let me quickly pick this call. I'll come back to you guys shortly. Hello? Guys, I'm coming, please. Guys, I am back. Sorry about that. So yes, as I was saying, right? So you're redirected to this page. Select, I confirm my information is correct. I have read the terms and condition, and then go on to click on pay now. But before you click on pay now, guys, this is a zero risk promise. Like I said earlier, right? It's zero risk promise. What that means is paying today, 10th of August, means your next payment is due 10th of September. Now, if you're starting on the 5th of September, or even if you're starting with the August guys, it simply means you would have experienced this internship for four weeks. That's 2 projects, because each project is about 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So by the 4th week, when your payment will be due, you're already in the program for about, you're okay. I mean, you've already covered 2 projects, about to wrap up your 2nd project, or you're just starting. But at the same time, it allows you verify everything that has been said on this call today. Okay, so select whether it's September, and if it's September you want to start, your internship starts on the 5th, which means week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, because you can make your next payment 30th. That's how good this is, right? You can extend your next payment to 30th. Now, the most interesting part, you can even extend it till 5th of October. Now, because we're so sure that you're not going to hate this experience, because look at how flexible and how open-ended it is, because imagine being in the program for that long, right, without paying the next installment. That's because we know that you're going to enjoy the experience and you have no reason to hate it or say, oh, I need a refund, I don't like this anymore. But just so that you're rest assured that this is not going to be another waste of time or investment for you, we said, let's give people reasons to have that peace of mind that, okay, I can actually try this. And then you can just follow the process that I showed. But if you feel like, okay, I don't see any reason why I should really doubt this, and I really want to save more, then you can go with one-time payment and you get to pay just £500. You're fine with everything, click on pay. Okay, you get redirected straight to the enrollment page. Okay, you get redirected, and on this page, you can just fill in your card details. Fill in your card details and click on pay. So it's currently loading. Okay, fill in your card details. And so it's loading. Yes, it's done loading. So you fill in your card details and then you click on pay, and that is all, guys. Once you pay, it tells you, it redirects you to a page where you get to fill your attendance form and enrollment form. Please fill the enrollment form, because that's how we get to send you your internship confirmation letter, your onboarding details, and literally every information about your cohort, your team, and your team lead. Because like I said earlier, you will not be doing this alone. You have a team, and you have a team lead like Moriam working with you Mondays to Fridays. Of course, not 9 to 5. We know you might be schooling, you might be working, you might be busy with other things. So we expect that, okay, even in as much as that might already have taken too much of your time, we still want you to benefit from this program that you've invested your time and money in. So once you've made your payment, as you can see right here, so let me just play to where you are. You get redirected to this page. Like I said, this is the form. Okay, so select your skill level, beginner, intermediate, it doesn't matter. Select your country of residence, US, UK, Canada, Ireland, it really doesn't matter. Your gender, male or female, how you found out about Amdari, select it. Which of our sessions influenced, or rather, what influenced your decision? Type in what influenced your decision, and then which of our sessions influenced your decision to enroll for this program. You can also select, so for that, please select data tech career. The session that Moriam had today with you guys, sharing with you exactly how you can work around these projects and the data set is the data tech area. So please select it as the section of influence. Once you've done that, your enrollment is successful. It tells you that, and it says go to dashboard, and you're here on your dashboard. And I'm going to show you guys what a portfolio website of our typical interns look like, because yes, you also get to build a free portfolio website. But before I show us that, I'm going to take questions. As I take questions, I would also use the opportunity to show you what a portfolio website at Amdari looks like. And you have access to this portfolio website for free for life, right? So I'll take questions right about now. So if you have any question on enrollment or what the internship is going to have in store for you, any question at all, I'm more
Yes.
than happy to take it. Okay, I see one hand is raised. Hello, Ray.
Yes, two things here.
Mhm.